नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकीम् कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो Hare Krishna. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, verses Canto 10, Chapter 90, verses 18 to 20. 18. Tvam yakshmana balavata gृहीत indo Srinastamo nanijadi diditi bhikshinoshi Kachin mukunda gatitani yata vayam tvam Vismritya bhostagita girupalakshanaha. Translation. My dear Moon, having contracted a severe case of tuberculosis, you have become so emaciated that you fail to dispel the darkness with your rays. Or is it that you appear dumbstruck because, like us, you cannot remember the encouraging promises Mukunda once made to you? This is verse 19. O Malayan breeze, what have we done to displease you, so that you stir up lust in our hearts, which have already been shattered by Govinda's sidelong glances? O revered cloud, you are indeed very dear to the chief of the Yadavas who bears the mark of Srivatsa. Like us, you are bound to him by love and are meditating upon him. Your heart is distraught with great eagerness, as our hearts are, and as you remember again and again, you shed a torrent of tears. Association with Krishna brings such misery. Purport. The Acharyas explain this verse as follows. The cloud acts as the friend of Lord Krishna by shielding him from the scorching rays of the sun. And certainly, such an earnest well-wisher of the Lord must constantly meditate on him with concern for his welfare. Although the cloud shares the Lord's blue complexion, it is Lord Krishna's distinctive features, such as his Srivatsa mark, that especially attract him to this meditation. But what is the result? Simply unhappiness. The cloud is depressed and thus constantly sheds tears on the pretext of raining. So the queens advise him, it would be better for you not to take much interest in Krishna. Om Jnanatimrandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sahagana Raghunathan Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamshyam He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Kam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatharinam Paramanandamagam Shri Chaitanya Mishram. Reading the translations of the verses again. Oh, my dear moon, having contracted a severe case of tuberculosis, you have become so emaciated that you fail to dispel the darkness with your rays. Or is it that you disappear dumbstruck because, Like us, you cannot remember the encouraging promises Mukunda once made to you. O Malian breeze, what have we done to displease you? So that you stir up lust in our hearts, which have already been shattered by Govinda's sidelong glances. Verse 20, O revered cloud, you're indeed very dear to the chief of the Yadavas, who bears the mark of Srivatsa. Like us, you are bound to him by love and are meditating upon him. Your heart is distraught with great eagerness, as our hearts are. And as you remember him again and again, you shed a torrent of tears. Association with Krishna brings such misery. I've been wondering, like, what am I even going to speak on these verses? So, praying and begging the blessings of all the Vaishnavas, Adipurush Prabhu, Bihari Prabhu, everybody, and also as chanted in Mangalacharan, all the Guru Parampara and Shishra Mulidhar and Gaur Chandra, that they can empower me to say few words, which is according to the Parampara, and also can give some pleasure to the devotees and the Lord. Thank you. So here we are seeing the words of the queens of Dwarka. They're completely absorbed in separation from Krishna. And here in the 20th verse, they're looking at the cloud and they're diagnosing. Of course, in the previous one also, they've been speaking to the breeze and speaking to the moon. And the verse 20th, which has the purport, they're speaking to the cloud and they're saying they're able to see their own condition in the life of the cloud. So it's not that apparently the cloud is having all those qualities that they are speaking about, ascribing to the cloud, that it's not necessarily the cloud is bound to love Krishna, or or it's the cloud's heart is not distraught with great eagerness as their hearts are, nor the cloud is, could be remembering the Supreme Lord again and again and shedding as a result of that, shedding torrents of tears in the form of the. And then they also say association with Krishna brings such misery. So this is all because they are experiencing that. So when they see the world, they project in a good way. They are able to see everything in through that vision or lens. So different episodes in the Bhagavatam serves different purposes for different devotees. Certain sections of the Bhagavatam is for our application, not necessarily just application, but can have predominant value of application, that we learn something from that pastimes. They are directly relevant and relatable to our stage and practice. And we can take inspiration from that. How can I actually apply? And it can in general increase our attraction for Krishna. So either they can increase our attraction for Krishna or they can inspire us in our devotion to Krishna, which is not very different. And also certain sections of the Bhagavatam are just sometimes it could be very relishable, sometimes it could be bewildering depending on one's state of consciousness. So here when we read certain sections, especially the gopis expressing their separation for Krishna, here the queens are expressing their separation from Krishna. So the natural tendency is could be very different for different devotees. Some may be able to relish because of their advancement in consciousness. For some, it can look like very sentimental. For some, it can look like, oh, this is, I'm not supposed to read this. And it's kind of a fear and a kind of a not in a repulsive in a sense of bad feel. Oh, this is something beyond my ability. So let me stay away from it. And eventually, from that stage, people can go to, okay, this is worshipable, this is beyond my stage. Let me see what inspiration and aspiration I can develop from here. So, scriptures are all supposed to be relished and also take inspiration from, and to develop aspirations in our life. So, here we see the state of the queens, and we can take inspiration and aspiration, that how they have developed such deep love for Krishna that they are missing Krishna. To that extent, their love is advanced that wherever they see Stavara Jangama Deke, Na Deke Tara Murti, Sarvatra Hai Ishtadev Spurti. Wherever a sign of an advanced Mahabhagavata is that wherever that person sees the presence of Krishna. So here in the clouds and in the life of the cloud, they are able to see Krishna. And this is also another thing, that whatever is our state of consciousness, we see the world through that state of consciousness and judge the world through that state of consciousness. So our reality is partially because of also who we are. There is an objective reality to the world itself. However, we all experience the same world, the same situations, the same people differently, because it is also a product of our internal consciousness. So, just fixing many times externally alone will not help us improve the quality of our life, because the internal state of consciousness, the quality of one's consciousness, needs to also be improved in order for a sustainable vision. So here the queens are having a certain vision of life. Their vision of life is filled with love for Krishna. So we can contemplate, like, what is my vision of life? How do I see the world? Usually a conditioned soul sees the world through the lens of lust, which is trying to enjoy the world through the senses. That is a default consciousness for someone who is covered by ignorance. So a conditioned soul's state of consciousness leads to exploitation. A practicing devotee who hasn't fully awakened love for Krishna is sometimes being influenced by the exploitative tendency due to ignorance, and sometimes has a natural feelings of wanting to serve and please Krishna genuinely. And sometimes, and that, how does that happen? That happens in the association of a pure devotee. Because in the association of a pure devotee, for the first time, a conditioned soul experiences, oh, there is a different nature of existence. For the first time, the conditioned soul is awakened to this different idea that, oh, life could be lived on this platform. I never knew that. That things could be seen in this way. I never knew that. So that's what happens in the association of an advanced devotee. The conditioned soul's consciousness is awakened, begins to bloom. As the consciousness opens up, we see the world through a different lens. A disciple is someone who accepts to see the world through the lens of the Guru. A disciple is someone who is willing to not just see the world and also follow the process to develop a similar vision. Initially, it is because of the faith in the words of the Guru. By practicing the process offered, one can actually, because no Guru makes the disciple dependent in the sense in an exploitive way. When you purchase products from a certain company, you become forever bound to them. You have to buy their AirPods, you have to buy their cables, you have to buy their accessories, you have to buy their chargers, you have to buy. So you just become like, you just feel like, oh, I just had this one desire. Now I'm just like stuck to this thing. So Guru is not like that. Guru is not wanting to try to control. They're not going to keep the disciple forever in the same state of consciousness that the disciple came to them, so that they will forever remain under them. No, the disciple will choose in the right frame of mind to remain eternally the servant of the spiritual master. However, that does not mean the consciousness of the disciple has not improved. So, bona fide spiritual master not just inspires but also constantly facilitates the advancement of the consciousness of the disciple. And in that way, the disciple can see the world not just through the words of the spiritual teacher, but also by the following of the process, develop a heart through which they can see the same transcendental vision as the spiritual master. So here, the queens are not just seeing through the eyes, they are seeing through the heart. It is the state of their heart which is affecting the vision of their eyes. Currently, for a conditioned soul, it is the opposite direction. The external sensory impulses of the eyes decides the state of the heart many a times. What we see, what we hear, what we smell, these things develop aspirations in the heart, and we start running towards them. And the whole life is lost in this race, that the senses receive impulse and the contaminated consciousness deciphers that impulse of the senses in an exploitative way. And because of the contaminated consciousness, those impulses leads to desires, which are then seen as our aspiration. I like this. I want this. I love this. I wish I had this. So in this way, different aspirations are developed. Now the false ego gets locked into that goal. Once the false ego is locked, then the intelligence and the mind, they partner to see how to make this aspiration fulfilled. So this current state of conditioned identity makes our life a constant struggle, a constant race, as explained by Narada Muni in Canto 4 of the story of the Puranjana. So from there, by the association of a spiritual master, we can understand, oh, life is not just chasing the external impulses. Rather, we also can actually see through the heart, live in the heart space, and develop a spiritual vision. So here, that epitome is being shown in the pages of the Bhagavatam, what it means to develop a spiritual vision. And we do see a glimpse of this in Srila Prabhupada's life, that wherever he went, whatever he saw, He saw it all in connection to service to Krishna. That is the sign of a Mahatma. A sign of a conditioned soul is that they see everything in connection to enjoying, whereas an advanced devotee sees them in service in connection to the service of Krishna. And once Srila Prabhupada was taken by a disciple for a morning walk. There were not many accompanying him that morning. So it was just his disciple helping him go to a particular park. And somehow he missed the proper route. And he took him, suddenly they ended up in an area like a slum. And it wasn't well kept, it was very smelling not so nice and looking not so safe. So the disciple started profusely apologizing to Srila Prabhupada for the grave mistake and was trying to remedy it by taking another route and making sure that Prabhupada arrives safely in the park. And he was profusely apologizing throughout their walk to the park. And Prabhupada kept saying, "It's okay, not a problem." And at one point, eventually, Prabhupada said, "Don't you see the Vrindavan around?" So, and the disciple was surprised that Prabhupada is, is seeing Vrindavan because he was living in Vrindavan internally wherever he was. And in once a disciple asked Srila Prabhupada, "Sorry that we could not arrange a better facility for you to stay because that particular city was very crowded, uh, very congested, had very small dwelling places, very small apartments. I think it is Tokyo. And they've been in Hawaii before that. And you can imagine like going from Hawaii to Tokyo. So I'm not sure if it is Tokyo or Hong Kong, between one of them. So it was just after Hawaii, and this devotee was, this person who was arranging for was apologizing to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was like unfazed. He was like, "Wherever I live in Vrindavan, and whatever can facilitate his service, he's willing to do that because internally he was fixed in his love for Krishna." And of course, the state here the coins are showing, in this state, preaching is not possible. Reaching out to others is not possible because they are reveling in that state of separation. It's a state of relishing and they're living. And however, an advanced devotee like that has to come down in order to be able to preach. And we saw that Prabhupada many times showed the symptoms of his ecstasy. We did hear a Bhagavatam class before a few months. However, he needed to come down from that platform in order to be able to connect with and preach to people. Because everyone sees it's not their consciousness is reduced. It's just they have to come to external consciousness because they want to continue to serve Krishna in a way to help devotees. So, concluding that one can feel emptiness. It is very natural that emptiness is felt on multiple levels. A conditioned soul also experiences emptiness. That's the story of the world. A conditioned soul's emptiness is stemming from the root cause of disconnection from the soul's natural relationship with Krishna. When we try to fill a heart with, because there is a void, there is an emptiness, and when we try to fill it with wealth, relationships, career, entertainment, more than anything these days, the hunger never ends. It leaves one for wanting more. It's like pouring water into a pot with holes. It never stays, it never gets full. So, the emptiness of the world is not the absence of things, or absence of pleasures, absence of objects. Rather, the emptiness of the world is because of the absence of Krishna in our consciousness. And life after life after life, the soul runs around without understanding that it's not the absence of things, it's the absence of Krishna. Luckily, for some conditioned souls, by the intervention of Guru and Krishna's grace, they can turn towards the direction of understanding how it is the absence of Krishna in my life that I've been actually feeling in my heart as emptiness. So when they become a committed sadhaka, when does one become a sadhaka? When does Krishna take one seriously? That is when we develop a taste for hearing and chanting about Krishna. So it's inspiring to see that so many of you, every day that you take your time to hear about Krishna, that is the qualification to make Krishna take us seriously. So that's when he takes one seriously as a devotee, that someone offers their time to hear and chant about Krishna. Because if someone tells us that they love us very much, but cannot offer a minute to hear how we are and what we do, they may honestly be loving, but the limitation, at least we are not the priority. And especially even if we are reaching out and still people are not able to make time. So it's not always that we are not the priority, but most cases it could be. So a practicing devotee, because now they have taken interest to hearing and chanting about Krishna, they start feeling some connection. They know something about Krishna, but sometimes a practicing devotee feels nothing in their heart. Chanting is dry, prayers feel forced, heart feels empty or blank. Because for a conditioned soul, it's the reason is complete disconnection from even the thought that I need a connection with Krishna. But for a practicing devotee, we get covered of that fact that connection with Krishna is the ultimate happiness. We get covered because of lifetimes of conditioning. So it naturally blocks the taste. So if we stand before, like if we go and sit next to a fireplace, but if we cover ourselves with a wet blanket, the warmth is there. You cannot feel it because you're not just wet, but you're also covering yourself with a wet blanket voluntarily. Then it's going to be hard to experience the warmth of the fire. So we take to spiritual life and we cover ourselves with a wet blanket very consciously. So then we cannot feel the presence of Krishna. So spiritual emptiness, when we experience in a stage of practicing, is not hopelessness. Oh, I can never become a devotee. I can never grow in bhakti. It's not about hopelessness. It is the stage before the heart actually ignites with the fire. So it takes time. So rather, instead of feeling hopeless, we could feel helpless and turn that into a prayer to Krishna and connection to Krishna. Who's the devotee that has crossed the threshold? Is someone who actually turns their sense of emptiness, sense of disconnection. They use it as a fuel to cry out more sincerely. Because dryness in bhakti is Krishna's way of testing the depth of one's desire, and also helping us see what is that we could do within our capacity to make sure we can actually come closer to Krishna. And here, as we see in the case of the Dwarkas queens, the advanced devotees' is their emptiness is not lack of Krishna, but too much love for him. They feel acute pain when he seems absent, even though he is never apart from them. There is not a moment they're apart, separate from Krishna. This separation actually intensifies their constant remembrance. So even the emptiness of a great devotee or a perfect devotee is full of Krishna. That emptiness is actually ecstasy. The emptiness in a conditioned soul leads to despair. The emptiness in a practicing devotee, when approached with the right attitude, leads to determination and purification. And in the case of an advanced devotee, the emptiness is a sign of intensified love and ecstasy. So we can recognize our own emptiness and see where is it coming from. Is it coming from ignorance? Is it leading to determination? And how can we avoid escaping emptiness with distractions? And that's a sign of one's growth in spiritual life. And also worship and learn from the coins of Krishna, that how they're constantly turning everything, be it the moon, be it the breeze, be it the cloud. They're seeing everything in connection to Krishna. And as the Acharya is writing in this section, that how they are seeing the condition of the clouds through their own condition. That they see the cloud as constantly meditating on the Lord, constantly following Him and doing service to Him and attracted to Him. But they're saying, "Oh, you're you're in trouble because you're so attached to Krishna. You're constantly going behind Him. The result is going to be you'll be unhappy, you'll be depressed, because they say association with Krishna brings such misery, because this is the misery of another category." So thank you. It is past close to 7:50. So thank you very much. I am not able to see. I did hear a noise. Who was raised hands? Okay, Minnie.
Yes. Yeah. Hare
Hi,
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you so much for such a beautiful class. The lecture you gave this morning felt a bit heavy, actually, but in the most beautiful way. So thank you. I wanted to ask you, I love the way you said that the Queen's vision of the world is really their consciousness, seeing the world from through the lens eyes of their consciousness, and that we all do that. And you gave an example, really great example of what a conditioned soul does and what their world look like. um Not having a guru yet, and often feeling that Krishna is kind of far away from me, from my reach. Srimad Bhagavatam, in many ways, is really the closest presence of Krishna to me, many times. I would like to ask if how do we see Bhagavatam? How do we hear Bhagavatam how do we approach it so that that it gives me the chance to open myself up to really live from the heart space, and maybe absorb the Bhagavatam that way, so that I could construct the world in such a way that I change my vision of my life and world. Um, is it possible?
I'm trying to. So I surely feel it is possible. Uh, I think in what Srila Prabhupada has taught us, it's the attachment that one develops for the spiritual master, an advanced devotee, and hearing from them and following the rules, naturally the consciousness opens up. And the symptoms of a evolved consciousness is same, at least categorically it is similar. People may have different moods and rasas, but still how they evolve is the same, is very similar. The main difficulty for a conditioned soul is to keep up the determination to come to a state where the plane actually takes off. And there can be so many distractions until we come to that stage where it can actually take off. So until then, even after and always, we need the shelter of an advanced devotee. So finding that could be different for different people, because some may have it constantly 24 hours by 7 externally also. When somebody is very advanced, they can experience that shelter 24 by 7. I've seen many Prabhupada disciples saying that they feel more close to Prabhupada now in their, where after Prabhupada has left, after so many years after, than when they felt uh, when Prabhupada was right in the same temple they were, or right in the same town as they were, or in the planet. So it is the one can come to that state where one is constantly in touch with their one's spiritual teacher, and it that, in my opinion, for me personally, is the most crucial thing for a devotee to advance to a state where they feel constant connection with Krishna, because that medium is very crucial. Otherwise, because the determination of a conditioned soul is quite is not exhaustive, there is a danger in spiritual life to become hopeless, especially in the stages where we feel emptiness in the heart. So only when we have a devotee who is at least somewhat advanced than us to show us encouragement and inspiration, who inspires you in your life to become more Krishna consciousness, make that association more strong, and live according to that, then that we will become that. So we become our association. So choose your association and be committed to that association, and that's the mood you will develop, and that's the consciousness we will grow when it is done rightly. I'm not sure, Min, if I really answered your question.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Is there any follow-up or anything you wanted to add?
I guess I just wanted to maybe also know the way I could hear the Bhagavatam in such a way that it could also open my heart space.
Yeah, you, by hearing it from someone who has that love, naturally give you that inspiration.
Mm.
And that is the science of Bhagavatam. You hear from someone who has it, and naturally it gets transferred.
Mm.
That's why hearing is quite a potent, like a potent process, because who we hear from is also as important as what we hear.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And thank you. And I do see Mother Gail, then Mathura Nath Prabhu, then Bhima Prabhu. Mother Gail?
Hi, Krishna Prabhu. Yeah, your talk was very much addressing my consciousness today. But one thing, if you could give me some input here about the fact that I'm aspiring for a goal that I have practically zero idea about. You know, when we aspire for things in the material world, we do have some idea about the experience that we're hankering for. But even though we have Krishna book and we hear about the relationship of Krishna with his pure devotees, I cannot say that I have any idea at all about what that is like, But here I am trying to devote my whole life and all of my energies towards that thing which I have no idea about. And so, I feel like I need more of some kind of, I don't know, boost foundation or something to, yeah, I know, the standard answers, right, are like, just hear, hear. But, it's just uncomfortable. And it feels so kind of like, what am I doing? Aspiring for something that I don't even know what it is, So I don't know if you could speak to that.
As devotees, we need to increase our diet in the sense like babies are given baby food, but when we grow up, then the diet accordingly changes. So similarly, if we just keep up to sadhana as a bare minimum, as 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 a matter of okay, I'm supposed to do this, so I do this. Instead, if we can actually turn to Krishna and increase our greed for Krishna. So without that, we won't be able to feel satisfied, because Krishna is also making sure that we come closer to him. So in this equation, there are two people. It is not just I am endeavoring, and Krishna is also endeavoring to make sure that I come close to him. And he knows he wants me to come to a far above place than where I am currently. So he will keep moving. I think if I chant 16 rounds, I'll become a devotee. And once we start chanting, then we hear, oh, the quality of your chanting needs to be better. It's not just the number. So we need to improve the quantity and the quality. So it is, as you're saying, don't we have any idea about what we are aspiring for? There may be some truth to it. We may not fully know it, but we can see from the pages of the Bhagavatam, we can see from the lives of the great devotees how some idea what it could be. And also like endeavoring to know more about it so that it can give us inspiration. So yeah, for someone who steadily hears and devotedly hears like you, it's not just the plain hearing, but also how it translates into your contemplation, how it translates into how you see the world, how you see the hands of Krishna in your lives, and how much grateful we are. And those things are also very important. If you see the verse 3 in the Chaitanya Shikshashtakam, that the quality to be able to chant continuously is the state of heart. And it's quite an intense verse, to be able to humble, to be tolerant, to be able to offer respects to others, to not expect respect to oneself. So these are qualities that one needs to strive. It's not very natural for the condition. So developing love, like how the gopis or the queens of Dwarka or Mother Yashoda or all of these associates of the Lord is showing, is surely very high and attractive, but it is not cheap. The price to pay is also there. So if someone wants to buy a diamond, then the price needs to be paid. Aspiration is fine, but the price is there. So where am I not unwilling to pay the price? We need to look into our hearts and see where is that I hold back from giving to Krishna. So, and then reaching out to devotees, personally also, who you think can actually guide you from where you are to the next state where you want to go, because they need to be in a state where they are beyond your state, where they can actually help you. So some things happen in a common platform, but some things also are very personal and needs to be guided by devotees. So I do hear the Shankar. So I'm not sure if I answered again.
Yeah, and all these ways that you were saying that we should try is the way to increase greed, you're saying, right? Because I
Yes.
was thinking that increasing greed might sound a little artificial, but increasing greed, you mean see how you can endeavor more here or there. That's what you
And
mean.
also, how can I be more Krishna conscious? That can be very abstract initially, but eventually we need to get to the threshold where you have a particular strong burning desire inside your heart. Okay.
Yeah.
I do know there are many hands up. I think I can stay after today.
Gaur Sharan Prabhu.
Yeah, I can stay a little bit.
Thank you.
Thank you for your answer, Prabhu.
Thank you. Hare
You can
Krishna.
stay, Gaur Sharan Prabhu. You can empower somebody to do it for you. Maybe Bhima. He's open for empowerment.
Yes.
Temple room, Hare Krishna. Check 1, check 2. Where is the darshan? Is it that our vision is blurred? Ram. Okay. Hare Krishna Adipusha Prabhu, if you're here, can you facilitate the darshan, please? Okay, yeah, we'll see what happens. In the meantime, Mathuranath Prabhu and Sarab Prabhu have their hands up. Please, Prabhus, go ahead. Mathuranath Prabhu.
Haribo. Thank you for the class, Prabhu. It's very sweet. So my question is, if we can get to, like you're saying, we take association advanced devotee. Are we going back into the darshan now? Okay.
Yes, Prabhu. Sorry. Thank you.
Yeah.
Jai Shila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, welcome back to the Afterglow. Maturnath Prabhu, please continue.
Yes. So way I see is we get born into this world, and we get a lot of our karma in our childhood. There's things that happen to us in our children think that condition us, and people call them traumas. People call them, the trauma is really a wound. Trauma is really a pain, a wound that we're carrying. And I'm hearing you saying that we just need to follow this process. We just need to take shelter of an advanced devotee. And I've been doing that for 30 years. But what my experience is there's still something, there's some things, these wounds are dragging me down where I'm not fully alive and able to not only access the path of bhakti, but it's hampering me in my relationships. They're hampering me in every area of life, basically. So are you saying we can spiritually bypass these things and we don't actually need to heal and become not only in touch with Krishna, this is the most important thing, but we don't need to work on becoming in tune and in touch with ourself, know thyself?
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you for the question, Prabhu. I think in the enthusiasm of practicing bhakti, a lot of devotees can overlook those areas. My personal belief is that how can there be God realization without self-realization? How can there be self-realization without self-awareness? If I don't know where's my heart, I cannot offer what I don't have to Krishna. So if I'm not aware in my heart, like how much, if I'm angry, if I'm not sure why I'm angry, or even if I'm not even aware that I'm being disturbed and angry. So it sounds very, like, what do you call it? Against the process of bhakti that we spoke about these emotions and awareness. However, my personal experience and belief is it's a byproduct of properly practicing bhakti. If the consciousness is clearing, if the consciousness is opening, why is it that a person will not become aware of what they are thinking? And if I cannot know what I'm thinking, what can I actually offer to Krishna? How am I offering my thoughts and prayers to Krishna if I'm not like aware of what's happening inside? And we see there are different kinds of prayers in the scriptures. Acharyas are also praying that their current state of consciousness, they offer that to Krishna. They use that current. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is teaching, especially in the Gopinath Bhajan. We can see he says, my heart is in this state. How can I actually connect with you? It's so hard. Please help me. So he's first of all aware of what is his current state of heart, and he is using it to actually as a prayer, turning that as a prayer and going close to Krishna. So emotional awareness in which actually fuels one's connection to Krishna is in my opinion the right way. That it's not mutually exclusive, these things, but rather we see the state of my heart. The more I see the state of my heart, the more it becomes evident how much more I need Krishna and what should I do in order to actually fill those gaps that I'm seeing in my consciousness. So without finding the gap, I won't be able to fill it with Krishna. So finding the seeing that my lack is also, even Shikshashtakam, the second verse, is seeing that gap. That, oh Krishna, your names have so much potency, but I don't have attraction to that. I have attraction to so many worldly things. So I see the gap. Then I become humble. Then I tune my consciousness. I tune my desires in the fourth one, according to the Shikshashtakam, Nadanam, Najanam. So I tune my attitude, I tune my desires. Then I'll be able to come to understand, oh, I'm supposed to be situated as a particle of dust in the lotus feet of Nandanandana. So then the higher stages go. So the higher stages are coming later. It follows self-awareness and self-realization, but never approached in the sense of the Jnana yogis. Self-awareness usually has this tendency of either the Buddhist or the Jnanis, that it is approached as something separate from Krishna consciousness. In the pages of the prayers of our acharyas are filled with self-awareness and self, using that awareness and realization to Krishna, help using those things to come closer to Krishna. So I think as the movement is maturing, devotees are more and more able to see these things, because in the initial days, they all worked hard to create something. So there was very little time for them to actually also focus on these finer aspects. However, we do see so many proper disciples are shining light on these finer aspects, because the scriptures usually give the principles and the broader guidelines. So the scriptures are never meant to be an alternative or a replacement to a living personal guide, either Siksha or Diksha. The scriptures are never a replacement to that. The scriptures never offer 100% details that we need in order to advance in bhakti. They offer maps. They offer broader milestones. But how it needs to be applied is always done and under the inspiration and instruction of a devotee. So we can never overlook that aspect or think that I can just read and practice on my own. That is, it's not a self-help style of practice. So the guru guides the disciple because they have already gone through the path.
Well, what if the guru? So I agree with you that this self-awareness needs to be done, coupled with asking for Krishna's help, asking for Krishna to help me work through this. And many of us, I don't see devotees, myself haven't been aware in the past of, okay, I'm you talked about lust in the class. So a lot of time this lust, we're thinking we are just all lusty, but some people are not so lusty. They're actually, some people are, well, they're lusting for money. They're lusting, or some people are trying to, they're very attracted to intoxication. And you see some but these are all, somebody who's just wanting lust in terms of with another body. A lot of time they didn't have connection with their parent. A man didn't get the affection from their mother that they needed, and they're craving for that affection. So now it's appearing as I need a woman. I need a woman to give me this affection. And devotees are going through this and they're not understanding the source of their, or somebody's in so much pain because they had such chaos around them. They're trying to control their environment all the time. They become intense controllers, and because their environment was so out of control. So many different conditionings come from these things, which is obviously from our past karma. But and I appreciate you're saying we need the support of and guidance. But what if also the guru has not gone through this type of healing work where they've actually worked through their wounds and they're not aware of why they may have these urges that they're suppressing, because not many people are aware of these things.
Thank you, Prabhu. So, Guru is not just one person. There is Diksha, there is Siksha. So, essentially, the spiritual teacher is supposed to offer a spiritual knowledge, our connection to Krishna. But these finer details, these help, need not necessarily need to come from one person that we see as Guru. It could come from another devotee, and that in that area they could be our Guru. So, this concept that this subconscious ingrained in ISKCON devotee's mind that Guru is one. Usually that I have taken Diksha from. But Diksha is a process in which the formal connection is offered and spiritual knowledge is offered. But Siksha could be taken from multiple people. So there are devotees who have gone through these journey and are able to explain it in a way that is relevant and helpful, uplifting for other practitioners. So if you pray to Krishna, for sure you'll be able to find people who can actually help us. And if I see another devotee who probably spent more years than me, but still is unaware of their situation, because I do see it. Sometimes they are worshipable. They have spent more years than me. They have contributed more to the organization itself. And when I go through, when I just see the trajectory of their life, and there is a repeating pattern. And my question is, oh my God, how are they not able to see this pattern?
I could tell you.
Yeah. Yes, Bro. So if they are not able to see the pattern, then Krishna is helping them, will help them see the pattern. So until it does not matter of years, it's not the age, it's not how many years we spent in this life, what kind of services we did. It's a consciousness as another scale. And Krishna is trying to bring them closer and closer, and he is working in each one of our lives. And the more we work on our own lives, we will see that how much Krishna's hand is helping us. So we will have the faith that he is helping everyone. He is helping everyone in the way that's best for that individual. So the more we become healed and the more we become connected to Krishna, we'll be able to offer that to others. So unless I become connected, it's very hard to offer. What I don't have, I cannot offer to others. So the more we work on ourselves, we'll become a source of shelter to others and help to others because we have Krishna.
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. I appreciate your point with Guru and their Shiksha Guru. Even though I know that point, actually, you saying that, I see within me going, oh, and I should be really taking shelter of my Diksha. Will that be betrayal? And I'm going, wait a minute. No, this is not our philosophy. There's so many gurus, there's Shiksha. And yeah, it's a great point. Thank you. Thank you. And I appreciate your sensitivity to this, because this is something I see in our movements. There needs to be a lot of healing around and a lot more awareness, so we understand why we're engaging in these dysfunctional ways in this material world. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Krishna, thank you. Thank you, bro. Thank you for asking a vulnerable question. I'm not an expert, but I'm also trying to work through those same things. So I'm just...
maybe we can talk sometimes. I'm doing a lot of this work.
We do have multiple hands and questions. Like, how do we go about this, Anand Bihari Prabhu?
Maybe you can give like powerful one-liners. How do we deal with anger? Just, surrender to Krishna.
Anger is unfulfilled desires. So the more you become aware of what is your desire, so then usually if you understand that, there will be multiple strategies to achieve that, even if it is like a worldly thing. what to speak of other things. Like usually the worldly things are only affecting us currently. So the more we understand where is this desire coming from, then you will know there are multiple strategies to achieve it. Instead of just becoming angry, we'll become absorbed in how to actually achieve it, assuming that it's all connected to Krishna. So one is a devotee, so I understand that much personal responsibility one takes. But where is it coming from? What is the desire that is being unfulfilled, that is turning into anger? And is it the other person's problem? Is it my problem? And can I control the other person? Probably not. So what can I control within me?
Thank you. Shobha seems to be satisfied with the answer. Let's go to Saurabh. Saurabh Prabhu, very briefly, please. Gaur Sharan Prabhu. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, lots of love and respect to everyone. I will make it very brief. I had 3 questions. I'm going to narrow it down to 1. 2 were for me. 1 was to help everyone else. I'm going to stick to the one that I think will help everyone else. The simple question for you, and again, I'll keep it simple. I have so many things to say. So hearing a lot of the classmates and devotees' questions, Mike, the question in my mind that came up is for a lot of us, everyone that asked questions, etc., and myself, would possibly going to India a pilgrimage in terms of I had an amazing experience out of this world, and it's crazy that I haven't gone back at Govardhan Hill. This was probably back in 2004, just out of this world. It's unbelievable. I can't explain it. Vrindavan, Dwarka, tears in my eyes when I was praying. Again, this is with the intention to help everyone else. Mathura. And so the question is, would possibly going to these sites and praying to Krishna at these temples, at these sites, could that maybe help us move a little bit faster? If we've already gone once, like me, at some of these places, if I've already gone twice, going 3 or 4 times and sincerely praying, could that help some of us? That's my question. If that would take us a little bit faster.
Yeah, regular inspiration is required for a practicing devotee. So being in the association of someone who is very inspiring, and also in the dhams, can be very powerful. So they can be like those catalyst in a chemical reaction. They can actually uh, offer us, but in order to sustain it, we need to have a container. The heart is the container. So the regular practice is to get the heart ready, so that when we can fill, it can hold it. So if there are holes in it, then it will go away. So we can go to the dham and really feel inspired, because that's the potency of the dham. It's very natural. But when we come back, we could come back to where we are. We will come back to what is our consciousness. So raising our consciousness is the goal of going there. So when it is done with that consciousness, and when you regularly live in that separation, looking forward to be back in Govardhan until you go next time, having your daily sadhana in such a way that you're remembering these places and rekindling and keeping that inspiration. That's a challenge. And but that is life. Nothing worth comes without working hard.
Great answer, Gaur Sharan Prabhu. Now, Tamnitai Prabhu.
Sandros, I wanted to quickly ask because you had mentioned really briefly that to have the same vision, like Srila Prabhupada and our acharyas, and so or at least to see things in how they saw it, and so like Srila Prabhupada really talked about like unalloyed devotional service a lot, and of course just he had an example I remember or hearing about that he saw this big ship being pulled by a smaller boat, and he asked devotees, that were with him, how do you see this? He says that, the big ship's engine is turned off, and it's just, you know, allowing the little boat to take it further. So a lot of times, not necessarily to become mindless, but to be in a way, how do we, imbibe that mood of Srila Prabhupada, but not only the mood, but the vision, because of course we want to align ourselves with Vishnu's vision, and what better practical way to do it than the example shown by Srila Prabhupada, right? So like my only and I mean this in a very broad-minded way of asking, how do we align? Like, what is the practical way that we can do to that kind of help us align to Srila Prabhupada's mood and service and really help serve the mission?
I'm trying to. So in whatever I know, based on what Prabhupada also has shown us by his personal example, to the extent the desire is pure. Like, what is my motivation in trying to align my heart with Prabhupada's motivation? Because the conditioned soul has various motivations, but service is also there. Sometimes there are other things also. So the more I am conscious of my motivations, to that extent, I can be humble. When it is not aligned, I'll know it is not aligned. I won't justify. I won't. Instead, I can turn that into a prayer and say that, Prabhupada, my heart is not like I'm externally aligned, but internally I have other desires. So help me purify it. So just because we are externally aligned does not mean we are always internally aligned, and we are vulnerable. To be very conscious of it and being honest to ourselves more than anybody else, to our own selves and to Krishna, that can help us actually be aligned. Again, spiritual life is not usually outside of common sense, usually. So if most of the times if something feels wrong, probably there is something wrong. And history has proven it again and again. So if something feels fishy, so then probably there's something fishy. So it's not necessary that spiritual life is always beyond common sense. And these are my thoughts. So I can be wrong in the way I'm expressing it. But these are some of the thoughts I have. If you really want to make sure you are completely aligned with, like Prabhupada, with his desires, then surely, again, we need a guide. He never operated without the guide. And he never felt separate from his spiritual master's desires because he had come to a certain state. If we are not there, then we need to be humble about it. Not everyone can pull off that magic. It's not that cheap. Not everyone can have the same state of consciousness as Prabhupada. However, he's giving us a process to do that. So to the extent we sincerely do, we can come to that. It's not, it is possible, but it is not cheap or easy. So if we're willing to pay the price that Prabhupada paid, then we will also be there. So it's a very delicate combination of understanding how great what I'm aspiring for, and also not feel like, oh my God, this is so big, so I'll never be able to make it. Like not feeling hopeless at the same time, keeping our eyes really clear on a very high motivation. It takes a lot of humility.
Thank you, Gaur Sharan Prabhu. Can we hear from Adipurusha Prabhu very briefly, please? He hasn't
Yes.
spoken today. Adipurusha Prabhu, is Srila Prabhupada inspiring you to speak?
I'm asking him. We've danced around this subject for half an hour now. Guru, how to, get these kinds of deep, ecstatic, intimate feelings of, love for Krishna, like the verses are about. And spiritual life can be explained very simply. A lighted candle is giving off heat and light. A lighted candle can touch another candle, and that candle will begin to give off heat and light. It's a functional definition. Krishna is the source of spiritual knowledge, complete truth, knows everything, loves us, knows exactly how to bring us from where we are to the best level. And Guru is someone who's capable speaking what Krishna has to say to us. And if that person is not capable of speaking what Krishna has to say to us, then that's not Guru. And if we want Guru, Krishna will give us Guru. So it's not that Guru is partially qualified. Of course, everybody can, share what they have to share. But Guru is really Guru. He's really lotus feet of the spiritual master, like Gaur Sharan was explaining. Not just Shastra, but Shastra says take shelter of Guru. Lotus feet of the spiritual master, because we're meant to please a person. We're meant to inquire from a person and serve a person, and then offer and say, is this okay? How is this? And the Guru says, good, very good, my faithful servant. And then we know Krishna's pleased. Anyway, this is what I heard from Prabhupada, and what Prabhupada gave me to say today. Inquire, serve, obey, desire a genuine Guru who is completely capable, and Krishna will give you a Guru who is completely capable. But sometimes we don't really want somebody who's completely capable of our trust, and then we have an excuse not to surrender, and then we don't get it. But it's possible. Like you said, we have the motivation to really want the truth, and Krishna will send us Guru who will speak the truth to us, and then we have the option to follow it. Well, glories to Srila Prabhupada. There is simple, it's clear.
Thank you, Adipusha Prabhu. Gaur Sharan Prabhu, concluding remarks or instructions, inspirations,
I
please.
think that was a beautiful conclusion.
Jai. Thank you very much. Bhima Prabhu, you haven't interjected one time. No, one time you interjected. Where are your interjections? Bhima Prabhu, can you touch our candle? My candle? Can you touch it?
You always say the wrong things, dude. Anyways, yeah, I didn't interject because he's talking about Krishna consciousness. I only interjected when he started talking about Maya. Like, how can you go through your life with these repeating patterns over and over again and not see it? Even devotees, especially devotees, because we can hide behind things that spiritual bypass. Very simply, prayer and patience. If you see a mountain, we see the top, we see the peak of the mountain. We're all looking as men, and everybody else had mentioned. It's like, I can't. What am I? Where am I going? What am I doing? Where am I coming from? The important part is to understand that we have this peak, this mountain, and that's called Krishna consciousness, and we know we have faith in our feet, one step at a time. And we also have faith in those who have descended from that mountain and said, it's beautiful up there. You can see everything. And there's great wisdom up there and great sustenance for your soul. So we understand that. So we see the peak. We read the Bhagavatam. We see the acharyas. We see the pure devotees. We see the play that Krishna is working in this world. Play, that Bhagavatam, that Leela, also happens within us, and that journey that we go on, that great adventure, as Prabhupada said, Krishna consciousness is a great adventure, and that adventure is step by step, with prayer and then patience. If you're not patient, why am I not to the top of the mountain? I can't say, oh my God, it's so far. I have to go through this ridge. The air's getting thin up here, right? The air's getting thin. So the thing is that we know that others have reached it. We can see the peak of the mountain. Krishna is that mountain, and Krishna is the one who's supporting your feet, and all he wants us to be in our faith is to be sincere. If you put one foot in front of the other, following the path up the mountain, that's a sincere path. And guess what? When you go up the mountain, it's a scramble. It gets hard. Your legs get tired, but you just got to keep on going. And that's what it's all about. It's not about becoming a pure devotee. It's about the adventure on becoming closer to Krishna at the peak of the mountain. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. We need a reciter of the Maha Mantra. How about Danakeli Prabhu? Danakeli Prabhu, Hare Krishna. If you can, please unmute yourself and recite the Maha Mantra.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Bol, everybody.
Hare Krishna. Thank
Krishna, Jai
you
Shri
so much.
Prabhupada ki jai, Dandavat Pranam, Chalo Prabhupada.
Gaur Sharan Prabhu Ki Jai. Thank you for your association, dear devotees. We love you and we need you. Come again tomorrow. Hare Krishna.